Hello guys and welcome back to a review. This time it's actually a TV series, and it's a really good TV series. It's called Game of Thrones, and it's a TV series based off the book A Song of Ice and Fire. Right, where do I start with this? There's so much to talk about. Game of Thrones is just perfect, if you ask me. Like the scenery, the characters, the storyline, it's just, everything just works. And if you guys know me by now, I am a big fan of like medieval stuff, like The Hobbit. I like that sort of stuff. And this is just, this is medieval, obviously. It's in the ancient times. Not that ancient, but like medieval. It's sword fighting and stuff like that. So yeah, I started watching it, season 1, and it started off okay. Like it started off with the Starks, like Ned Eddard Stark, I believe, was played by Sean Bean, and his family in Winterfell. That was like the starting storyline, and I thought it was going smooth, and then going on to seasons 2, 3 and 4, it just hell broke loose, and it really shocked me because I think the thing about Game of Thrones is anyone can die, and believe me, a lot of characters do die. So that really shocked me when some characters did die, and that's what I like about this. It's so unexpected. So I'll start with like the scenery first. Winterfell is Ned Stark's family's like location. It's where they all live. There's Ned Stark, Catelyn Stark, who was the mother, and then the children Robb, Sansa, Arya, Bran, and Rico. And if you count Jon Snow, but he's a bastard boy, that's what they called them then? They were bastards. It's when like they only had one parent, and the other one was like a whore that they slept with or something like that. So they all lived in Winterfell, and then they just kind of like all broke up really. Ned Stark had to go to King's Landing because he was granted Hand of the King to Robert Baratheon, who was king in the first season. Catelyn, she stayed, but then obviously Bran got pushed out of it. Oh, sorry guys, just got to say before I go into all this, there's major spoilers ahead. So yeah, look out for that. Bran is pushed out of a tower after climbing. He's pushed out by Jaime Lannister, if I can recall from that long ago. And he becomes a cripple. And Catelyn looks after Bran, so they stay in Winterfell. Ned's gone off. Jon Snow ends up going to the Night's Watch with Ned, but then they go different ways because Ned has to go to King's Landing. And yeah, Sansa, Arya, and Rico all stay in Winterfell. And then, as you all know, well, this is spoiler, but Ned gets beheaded at King's Landing by King Joffrey. After Robert Baratheon dies, Ned gets like made out to be a traitor because he apparently, I can't remember what he did, but they're all calling him a traitor, so he gets beheaded. So then Catelyn and Robb end up like mustering up an army of the Northern Men, and then they're heading over to King's Landing. This is the same time where Arya gets taken by someone. She mingles with like a bunch of like pedophiles, thieves and that. Bran is with Hodor and that thief woman, I can't remember her name, and Rico. And Jon Snow is obviously at the Night's Watch. So you've got all that going on in the Northern Land. And then there's Daenerys Stormborn, and she's probably my favourite character. She's also known as the Mother of Dragons, Daenerys Targaryen, and I don't know, she's got loads of other titles, but yeah. She's like the second sort of storyline. I'm not sure where she is located, but she's sort of like in a different area, and she becomes Khal Drogo's wife, and he just starts off by like raping her and stuff, but then they end up forming a proper relationship, and then he ends up dying, and Daenerys becomes the Mother of Dragons. At the end of season 1, I believe, she has dragons with her. She hatches the dragons and all that. And then going on to seasons 2, 3 and 4, Daenerys like masses up an army of Unsullied. I'm not sure how you say it actually. Unsullied, that's how I'll say it, yeah. There's 8,000 of them, and she has them in her control, plus her dragons, but she has to leave her dragons behind in the end because they're coming out of control. So yeah, there's Daenerys, she's planning to take the Iron Throne, as well as Robb, who's planning on taking the Iron Throne. So you got two major storylines in different areas. And then there's King's Landing. There's the Lannisters, Tywin Lannister, Tyrion Lannister, Cersei's Lannister. Wait, no, I don't think she's called Cersei's Lannister. So just call her Cersei's. Joffrey, King Joffrey, we all know him. Robert Baratheon, who dies, and Jaime Lannister. They all get split up as well. Tyrion is hated by his entire family, besides Jaime. Joffrey dies, he gets poisoned, and Tyrion is framed. Jaime is off somewhere, he's been captured by Robb Stark and held captive, but then Catelyn lets him go with Brienne. Brienne's another unique character, I think. She's part of what's that guy's name? I'm not sure what it's called, but Brienne's like his bodyguard, and then she becomes Catelyn's bodyguard, and she takes Jaime Lannister back to King's Landing. So yeah, it's just crazy. There's so much going on in Game of Thrones. That's the good thing about it. There's so many things going on at once. It's really good. There's some unique characters who I thought I'd mention here as well. There's the Hound. He ends up taking control of Arya Stark. Yeah, he's sort of going on an adventure with Arya Stark, trying to give Arya back to her auntie, who ends up getting pushed down the moon door by Peter Baelish. Sorry about all this stuttering, guys. I'm just trying to think back because it's 4 seasons and it's a lot to remember. There's Hodor, who's looking after Bran and Rico, and they're all heading over to this special tree, which I'm not really sure what it is because it ended on season 4 and they just got there. And then there's Stannis Baratheon, who's planning on taking the Iron Throne as well. So there's kind of like 3 forces going for the Iron Throne. And yeah. Now, I'm going to go into some of my favourite scenes. Now, when I watch things, they don't really wow me like just films, they're good, but they don't really leave me in shock. There was one scene in Game of Thrones that really blew my mind, and that was the Red Wedding. This has been a popular reaction video on YouTube. If you just type in Red Wedding reactions, you'll find a lot of them. The Red Wedding is where Catelyn Stark and Robb Stark and Robb Stark's wife, who's actually pregnant at the time, go to a wedding, and they are promised that if this wedding goes ahead, they will get more men in their army or something like that. And they're in this little room, and it's like loads of little things to happen, and it kind of like hints towards trouble. Like the first they see is this guy goes over to the door and closes the door, just like a normal guard, just closes the door. And then this really sad music starts being played by this group of like violin people. And then, Catelyn Stark and Robb start looking round like what the hell's going on. And then Catelyn sees that one of the guards has armour on, so she knows that shit's about to go down pretty much. And that is the point where my mind just exploded. A guard goes up to Robb Stark's wife and stabs her numerous times in the chest where she's pregnant. And it is disgusting, but it was just so unexpected to me. It really blew my mind. I was just there with my hand on my mouth in shock. And then obviously Robb Stark's gets his neck slit by someone, and so does Catelyn Stark. So yeah, that's them gone. So that's Robb Stark marching toward King's Landing is now over. And that left me in absolute shock. So now Arya Stark, Sansa, who has actually spent most of her time being held captive in King's Landing because she was wife to King Joffrey. And then there's Bran and Rico, who are off doing something. So all the kids are pretty much everywhere. They're just messed up. The Stark family has been absolutely torn to pieces. Now, a few other things that I thought I'd mention was the Wildlings. They are a group of people who think they are free. They don't bow down to any kings. They're all free people, and they live behind the massive wall, which there's on one side of the wall where the Starks are and all the cities and stuff, and then there's the wall. And then on the other side, there's just all these weird monsters called the White Walkers. And then there's the Wilderlings in there as well, and they live on that side of the wall. And they're planning to mass up an army of 100,000 giants, mammoths, and just like wildlings, which are people, to take over the wall because they want what was theirs. They want it back. They want the land. So yeah, I thought that storyline was great. Jon Snow is a big part of that. There's a thing called the Night's Watch as well, and they guard the wall to stop the Wilderlings and stuff like that from coming over. And yeah, so that's where Jon Snow is. So we get to see that side of the world as well. And as I mentioned before, there's the Iron Throne, which is like the main throne to rule the 7 kingdoms of Westeros. We got Stannis Baratheon trying to get to the Night's Watch, which he actually attempts on the Battle of Blackwater Bay. There's a massive battle where Stannis charges to King's Landing, and you got the Lannisters defending, and Stannis Baratheon actually ends up retreating because Tywin Lannister returns after defeating Robb Stark with all his men, so Stannis gets pushed back. And then there's the Watchers of the Wall battle, which I also liked, which was when the Wilderlings finally began to attack, and Jon Snow and 99 other men were defending it. It was awesome. There were giants trying to get over the wall, like the Wilderlings attacked from behind them because there was already a group on the other side of the wall. So yeah, they had to deal with 2 sides of the wall, and it was really good. I like that action scene. Yeah, just the battle scenes, like one-on-one battles. Brienne versus the Hound, I like that battle a lot. The Viper versus the Mountain, that battle gave me a headache at the end. If you guys know, the Mountain just like caves in the Viper's head, and it is disgusting. It gave me an absolute headache, but it was really good because it's fake and it gives me these feelings, which is good. Peter Baelish and Sansa storyline. I'm not sure what I think about that. Sansa is the daughter of Catelyn and Ned Stark, and she got married to Joffrey, King Joffrey, and then so she's pretty much spent most of her time being treated like absolute crap by him in King's Landing. And obviously, after when King Joffrey dies, she's actually gets saved by Peter Baelish and taken to her aunt. Obviously, her aunt ends up getting killed by Peter Baelish, and then I believe Sansa and Peter Baelish go somewhere, and that's the last we hear of Sansa. Yeah, so that's that. I like Sansa's character. I feel for her. She's pretty much been bullied for like 4 seasons. And then the last episode as well, Arya Stark, who is the other child of Ned and Catelyn, she was sailing away to the Wall, so maybe she will meet up with Jon Snow, which will be a good reunion. She got on a boat and said she wants to go to the Wall, where Jon Snow is. So, and then it ended there, and that was it. There is going to be more seasons. Apparently, there's going to be 7 seasons, and we're on up to number 4 now. So I am honestly excited for Game of Thrones. I knew nothing about Game of Thrones. Numerous people were telling me to watch it, and honestly, it's the best decision I've ever done. It's such a good TV series. I recommend you guys watching it. I guess you already have if you're here to see the review. It is a masterpiece. Like everything, the costumes, the characters, the cast are all really great, and the storylines are absolutely amazing. It is my perfect sort of TV series. It's like, yeah, it's great, honestly. Season 5 is apparently out in 2015, so bring it on. I'm absolutely ecstatic for this to come out. I can't wait to see Daenerys Stormborn hopefully take over the Iron Throne. I want her to bring her Unsullied across the sea and just absolutely bash the Lannisters. And another thing as well, Tyrion killed his father, Tywin Lannister, at the end, and he was put into a crate. That bold priest guy helps him escape. So yeah, there's so much going on. There's so many characters who are wanted for death. There's so many unfinished storylines, and it's just so great. I recommend you guys watching Game of Thrones if you haven't already. And after 14 minutes of absolutely yabbing on, but it deserves it. Game of Thrones has got so much to talk about. I'm going to kind of rate the seasons I've watched so far. I mean, why not? I'm going to rate Game of Thrones a 10 out of 10, and not just because I like medieval stuff, but as I said, everything about it is absolutely perfect. The fighting scenes, the characters, the costumes, The music, the soundtracks are amazing. The storylines as well, yeah. Everything, 10 out of 10. I honestly cannot wait for the following 3 seasons, if that rumour I heard was correct. So yeah, guys, that's it for the Game of Thrones Season 1 to 4 review. Brilliant is my overall word that I will use for Game of Thrones. Brilliant. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, leave a like and comment below if you guys have seen Game of Thrones and what you think of Game of Thrones. Yeah, and that's that for this. That's that for this episode of Movie Talk. Well, I should call this TV series talk, but that would be stupid. So I'll just call it Movie Talk. So yeah, guys, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.